Welcome to The Explainer. We're skipping the fluff today because we have a fascinating and honestly kind of terrifying topic to unpack. We're looking at the very real, easily measurable, and just staggering cost of simply letting people know that you have money. Because it turns out the biggest threat to your wealth isn't actually a bad investment or a market crash. No, it's a single sentence at a dinner table that you can literally never take back.
To see what I mean, just look at this jarring statistic from a 2023 Lending Club report. 36% of people earning over $100,000 a year report living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, over a third? Now, it's so easy to just write this off as a wages problem or, an inflation problem. But when 1 in 3 six-figure earners absolutely cannot absorb a single month of lost income, we aren't looking at a math problem here. We're looking at a visibility problem. Basically, they reached a certain income level, they let the people around them see it, and then they got completely trapped paying to maintain it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the wealth submarine and the concept of running silent.
To really grasp how this trap works, we need a solid mental model. Picture your wealth as a submarine. This old World War II naval philosophy hits the nail on the head. A submarine is most effective and most survivable when nobody knows where it is. Think about it. It does its absolute best work in the dark, under intense pressure, totally invisible to everything up on the surface. Well, your money behaves the exact same way. It compounds best in the dark. It builds all these amazing options that you don't have to explain to anybody. But the very second your submarine surfaces, the moment you make a financial sound that pings on someone else's sonar, you become a target. And just like that, everything that made your wealth so powerful evaporates.
Which brings us to Section 2, identity-consistent spending and what's known as the social ratchet. To see this social ratchet in action, let's look at the highly relatable case of Derek. So Derek is a software engineer down in Austin making $140K a year. And he's doing everything right. Maxing his 401k, building that boring but consistent emergency fund. But at a birthday dinner, after a couple of beers, he just innocently mentions to his college friends that he just crossed $100,000 in investments. Just one sentence, one reveal. But suddenly, the friend group starts choosing slightly nicer restaurants. When his parents need help with a car repair, who do they call? They call Derek. And he pays it, because he never pushes back. Pushing back feels kind of wrong when you've publicly announced you have money, right? Generosity literally just became his path of least resistance.
Now, the fascinating psychology behind Derek's behavior is defined by Princeton and University of Chicago research as identity-consistent spending. Basically, once you publicly identify at a certain financial level, your subconscious actually starts protecting that identity. Your brain filters every single choice to match the money guy identity you accidentally broadcasted. Ordering the budget option or driving a cheaper car, it suddenly feels completely inconsistent with this whole image you've created.
And honestly, this is where the math gets absolutely terrifying. Let's say you're 35 and you casually let slip that you're doing pretty well. A highly conservative estimate is that identity-consistent spending, the round of drinks you buy, the hotel upgrade you don't fight, splitting the dinner evenly even if you just had a salad, cost you an extra $400 a month. Well, $400 a month over 30 years invested at a 7% return is $582,000 in lost compounding. Over $500,000 just gone, simply because you told people you have money. No way, right? But the math doesn't lie.
All right, let's look at Section 3, the Diderot effect and the upgrade cascade.
If you think this is just some modern problem caused by social media or keeping up with the Joneses, let's travel all the way back to 1772. There was this perpetually broke French Enlightenment philosopher named Denis Diderot. Well, he received a massive, totally unexpected 15,000 livre windfall when Catherine the Great of Russia actually bought his personal library. Suddenly, the guy had real money. And what was the very first thing he bought with it? A magnificent, luxurious scarlet dressing gown. It was literally the finest piece of clothing he had ever owned in his entire life.
But the absolutely crucial point is what happened next. That single scarlet robe had this imperious air that suddenly made his entire apartment look completely wrong. The beautiful robe demanded a matching writing desk. But then the new desk made his curtains look dated. The new curtains made the rug look cheap, which of course made his art look embarrassing. Within a year, Diderot had completely refurnished his entire apartment and was practically destitute all over again. This whole upgrade cascade proves that when you make just one visible upgrade, you expand the entire surface area of your life that now requires expensive maintenance.
Let's look at our next piece of data and see how this builds from the 18th century straight into our modern economy. A 2014 study in the Journal of Consumer Psychology found that making just one visible luxury purchase makes you 47% more likely to make a second, completely unrelated luxury purchase within 30 days. And it's not because you suddenly have more money, but because that first purchase changed your visible identity. Your brain is just scrambling to make the rest of your life match it.
Moving on to Section 4, the power of optionality and the freedom to choose.
So what is the actual point of saving all this money in the dark? Well, it all comes down to leverage. To really understand this, let's look at the cautionary tale of Marcus. Now, Marcus was an absolute master of the submarine strategy. He drove a used Honda, kept quiet, and secretly built up a $450,000 net worth. But when his father passed away, legal estate proceedings forced a complete financial disclosure among his siblings. His perfectly submerged submarine was violently forced right to the surface. Almost instantly, the indirect requests for help began. Unspoken family expectations totally shifted. Because his number was visible, within 18 months, $65,000 drained away from his portfolio entirely through sheer social expectation.
And this brilliantly illustrates the massive contrast between visible and invisible wealth. Take a look at Kevin and James here. Kevin makes $115K a year but is very public about his success. James makes slightly less at $110K but tells absolutely nobody. Over 15 years, Kevin's visible lifestyle floor and that social ratchet we talked about cost him heavily, leaving him trapped with an $820,000 net worth. James, on the other hand, through the pure power of financial silence, limits his baseline spending and sits at a massive $1.1 million net worth. Guys, that is a $300,000 difference netted simply by staying quiet.
But hey, it isn't just about the balance sheet. As the source notes, the person who needs the outcome least has the power. Let's say at age 50, both Kevin and James get offered a startup job that pays half their current salary but offers deeply meaningful work and equity. Kevin is totally locked into his visible lifestyle floor. He literally cannot afford to take the pay cut. But James takes the meeting, looks at his deeply submerged submarine, and says yes. Because nobody knew his number, he retained the absolute ultimate power, the optionality to choose his own path.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 5. How to run silent and the silent strategy.
So how do we actually fix our visibility problem? The source lays out 3 really powerful tactical steps. Step 1, audit your visibility. Think about what you've posted, mentioned, or even just implied recently. The strategy suggests you simply stop adding data points to people's mental models of your wealth. Step 2, decouple milestones from social identity. Look, hitting 100K or 250K is thrilling for sure, but the strategy suggests celebrating that in total private. Write it in a journal, tell your partner, but avoid giving the social world leverage over you. And step 3, build an invisible floor. This is a liquid reserve that exists entirely outside of anyone's expectations. It gives you the silent power to absorb any pressure without anyone else having a vote on what you do.
Bringing our central metaphor home, we really need to start thinking like naval engineers. In submarine design, the absolute most important metric is the acoustic signature. It's basically the noise profile that makes a vessel detectable. Modern engineers, they don't focus purely on speed or firepower. They focus entirely on reducing this signature. Because at the end of the day, quietness guarantees survivability. Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought to take away from today's explainer. What is your financial acoustic signature? In a modern consumer economy that's basically engineered by algorithms and luxury marketers to profit directly from your visibility, what signals are you broadcasting? Remember, running silent isn't about deprivation at all. It's not preserving your freedom. Because the absolutely loudest thing you can possibly do with your money is just let it compound quietly in the dark. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you next time.